Oscar Fingal O'Flahertie Wills Wilde, October 16, 1854, November 30, 1900, was an Irish poet and playwright. After writing in different forms throughout the 1880s, the early 1890s saw him become one of the most popular playwrights in London. He is best remembered for his epigrams and plays, his novel The Picture of Dorian Gray, and the circumstances of his criminal conviction for gross indecency, imprisonment, and early death at age 46. Wilde's parents were successful Anglo-Irish intellectuals in Dublin. A young Wilde learned to speak fluent French and German. At university, Wilde read greats. He demonstrated himself to be an exceptional classicist, first at Trinity College Dublin, then at Oxford. He became associated with the emerging philosophy of aestheticism, led by two of his tutors, Walter Pater and John Ruskin. After university, Wilde moved to London into fashionable cultural and social circles. As a spokesman for aestheticism, he tried his hand at various literary activities. He published a book of poems, lectured in the United States and Canada on the New English Renaissance in art and interior decoration, and then returned to London where he worked prolifically as a journalist. Known for his biting wit, flamboyant dress and glittering conversational skill, Wilde became one of the best-known personalities of his day. At the turn of the 1890s, he refined his ideas about the supremacy of art in a series of dialogues and essays, and incorporated themes of decadence, duplicity, and beauty into what would be his only novel, The Picture of Dorian Gray, 1890. The opportunity to construct aesthetic details precisely, and combine them with larger social themes, drew Wilde to write drama. He wrote Salome, 1891, in French while in Paris, but it was refused a license for England due to an absolute prohibition on the portrayal of biblical subjects on the English stage. Unperturbed, Wilde produced 4 society comedies in the early 1890s, which made him one of the most successful playwrights of late Victorian London. At the height of his fame and success, while The Importance of Being Earnest, 1895, was still being performed in London, Wilde had the Marquess of Queensberry prosecuted for criminal libel. The Marquess was the father of Wilde's lover, Lord Alfred Douglas. The libel trial unearthed evidence that caused Wilde to drop his charges and led to his own arrest and trial for gross indecency with men. After 2 more trials he was convicted and sentenced to 2 years hard labor, the maximum penalty, and was jailed from 1895 to 1897. During his last year in prison, he wrote De Profundis, published posthumously in 1905, a long letter which discusses his spiritual journey through his trials, forming a dark counterpoint to his earlier philosophy of pleasure. On his release, he left immediately for France, never to return to Ireland or Britain. There he wrote his last work, The Ballad of Reading Gaol, 1898, a long poem commemorating the harsh rhythms of prison life. Oscar Wilde was born at 21 Westland Row, Dublin, now home of the Oscar Wilde Centre, Trinity College, the second of 3 children born to an Anglo-Irish couple, Jane, née Elgie and Sir William Wilde. Oscar was 2 years younger than his brother, William, Willie, Wilde. Jane Wilde was a niece, by marriage, of the novelist, playwright and clergyman Charles Maturin, 1780–1824, who may have influenced her own literary career. She had distant Italian ancestry, and under the pseudonym Speranza, the Italian word for hope, she wrote poetry for the revolutionary Young Irelanders in 1848. She was a lifelong Irish nationalist. 2. Jane Wilde read the Young Irelanders' poetry to Oscar and Willie, inculcating a love of these poets in her sons. 3. Her interest in the neoclassical revival showed in the paintings and busts of ancient Greece and Rome in her home. 3. William Wilde was Ireland's leading oto-ophthalmologic, ear and eye, surgeon and was knighted in 1864 for his services as medical advisor and assistant commissioner to the censuses of Ireland. 4. He also wrote books about Irish archaeology and peasant folklore. A renowned philanthropist, his dispensary for the care of the city's poor at the rear of Trinity College, Dublin, was the forerunner of the Dublin Eye and Ear Hospital, now located at Adelaide Road. 4. On his father's side Wilde was descended from a Dutchman, Colonel de Wilde, who went to Ireland with King William of Orange's invading army in 1690, and numerous Anglo-Irish ancestors. On his mother's side, Wilde's ancestors included a bricklayer from County Durham, who emigrated to Ireland sometime in the 1770s. 5-6. Wilde was baptized as an infant in St. Mark's Church, Dublin, the local Church of Ireland, Anglican, church. When the church was closed, The records were moved to the nearby St. Anne's Church, Dawson Street. 7. Davis Coakley mentions a second baptism by a Catholic priest, Father Prideaux Fox, who befriended Oscar's mother circa 1859. According to Fox's testimony in Donahoe's magazine in 1905, Jane Wilde would visit his chapel in Glencree, County Wicklow, for Mass and would take her sons with her. She asked Father Fox in this period to baptize her sons. 8. Fox described it in this way. I am not sure if she ever became a Catholic herself, but it was not long before she asked me to instruct two of her children, one of them being the future erratic genius, Oscar Wilde. After a few weeks I baptized these two children, Lady Wilde herself being present on the occasion. In addition to his children with his wife, Sir William Wilde was the father of 3 children born out of wedlock before his marriage, Henry Wilson, born in 1838 to one woman, and Emily and Mary Wilde, born in 1847 and 1849, respectively, to a second woman. Sir William acknowledged paternity of his illegitimate or natural children and provided for their education, arranging for them to be reared by his relatives rather than with his legitimate children in his family household with his wife. 9.